Are you worried about looking too pushy with the prospects that you work with? A lot of salespeople come to me and say, James, I'm nervous about looking too pushy in the way in which I interact with my prospects. So take a look at the video that I'm sharing today on how you can take the right actions to ensure you don't look pushy with the prospects you engage with. My name is James White, I'm the UK's leading prospect conversion expert. Let's take a look at the video and see how we can help you get the right results with your prospects. When I talk to a lot of salespeople, one of the big things that they're really concerned about is being seen as this pushy salesperson who continually rings a prospect even though they're not getting a response. And I regularly get asked the question, James, I don't want to appear pushy and seen as this person that's a pain in the backside. How can I avoid that when I engage with prospects? There are 2 or 3 key tips that I always use with the customers and people that I work with that I encourage you to use as a result of watching the video. Point number 1. One of the key things that happens in meetings with prospects is that your belief of where the meeting and how the meeting has gone is very different to how the prospect thought the meeting went. I've seen it happen on regular occasions where I've gone in, or a person that's gone in and started talking about who they are, what they do and how they operate, and before you know it, they've dominated the conversation and finished off by saying to the prospect, how was everything? Was everything great? The prospect's being polite, they've nodded their head, and the salesperson has gone away thinking it was a great meeting. When really what's happened is in the prospect's mind they felt, I've not talked that much, I've not shared many of my issues, and I've been talked at for a period of time. This meeting is not great and I can't wait for this person to leave. The difference between what you think and what your prospect thinks is a huge factor when it comes to following up on a prospect in the future. If you've had those conversations and they've not gone as well as you, or you think they've gone well but the prospect hasn't thought it's gone well, the chances are when you try and ring that prospect back up in the future, maybe a week's time or 2 weeks' time, the prospect's going to look at your number coming up on their phone and think, thanks very much, I don't want to speak to that person. And you're left then wondering, why didn't they answer my call? The reason was because in the first instance, you were too pushy, or you didn't engage in the right way, or you didn't build the right rapport within your relationship to make the prospect want to speak to you again. The key in sales is that we focus on listening and understanding our prospects before we start to talk about who we are and what we do. That first meeting or 2 is all about them. What are the challenges they're facing? How are they dealing with issues that go on in their world? And by getting to understand them and really knowing what it is that they're looking to achieve, we can then see if we're the right fit for them. But most importantly, by listening and understanding them, they're going to be more likely to want to engage with us because we haven't been narcissistic and focused on ourselves. So the next time that you have a prospect that hasn't got back to you, maybe think, did I really have a good engagement with that person as I thought? Was the conversation as good as I remember it being? Or maybe did I just talk too much and the person nodded politely because that's what we do, when in reality the meeting wasn't that great and so they're ignoring me because they're not particularly interested in what I've got to say. The second point, when you've had the end of a conversation, is to make sure that you ask and identify a time with the prospect to follow up for the next conversation, meeting, or what's going to happen next in the lead. When I engage with prospects, I will always say to them, I've had a great conversation with you today, John, and I've really enjoyed our time together. I think there's a great opportunity to maybe look at how we can work together. I'd like to come back to you on next Thursday at 2 p.m. to talk through the next stages. How does that sound for you? 2 things here. If someone doesn't want to commit to you to going back and having another date and time to speak to you, they're probably going to put their back up and say something's not quite right here. In which case you can then use questions to say, hey, I'm really sorry about that. Tell me, is there anything that I've missed in our conversation that wouldn't make that meeting worthwhile for you? You can probe and find out what the prospect was thinking if they didn't want to actually arrange another subsequent appointment. The other benefit of doing that is if you get that commitment in time from your prospect in the future, you're then going to know that they've agreed to it, and if you put it in your diary and send them an invitation and look for that acceptance, it's in their diary, it's booked in, and then they're going to want to look to speak to you because you're someone that can help them solve a problem or a want that they have. Most prospects have an issue that they want to solve or a want or something they want to achieve. They're going to want to solve that. And if you've been able to identify how you can help with that and listen to their issues, they're going to want to carry on that conversation. If they don't, it's because you haven't told them how you can address that, or you haven't listened to them effectively. So if they won't give you a date or time for the next meeting, maybe you've got to question and see if there is a real opportunity there. You're better off to know that now than try and chase a prospect going forward in the future who really doesn't have an interest in working with you. The third thing I say to people to really take into account when it comes to following up with a prospect is people are busy and things go on in the world that they have. For example, I've been in a situation where I've tried to follow up with a prospect and I've tried to follow up the first time and then the second time and they've not got back to me, and I've wondered what it is that's gone wrong and do I want to appear as this pushy salesperson, and then I found out they've had a pet that's passed away and that's really affected them. You have to consider that your prospects, things will change in their circumstances. Something will go on in their world or with their life that is different to how you would expect. And even though you would hope they would let you know that they can't make that call or that meeting, things sometimes happen that are out of our control that mean we don't necessarily follow up and do the things that we said we will. Or maybe they've just made a mistake and double booked a diary appointment. Maybe they've had a family issue that's gone on. Something's happened which meant they can't have that meeting or call with you at that time. And that's why I encourage you to make sure that you follow up with your prospects certainly 5 or 6 times with a call, maybe every week or 2 weeks, and then reach out to them and say to them, I hope everything's okay. I didn't want to offend, I don't want to become a pain, but we had a great conversation and we talked about meeting up. Has something changed since that time? It could well be that they've just been busy with other things and they've not been able to get round to doing things with you, or they've been in a position where actually, do you know what you do no longer is relevant for them. But at least by following up on a regular basis and by asking them what's happening, you can still identify then whether they're still keen to work with you and don't appear as this pushy salesperson focused on you, but focused on them, understand them, see if anything's gone on differently in their world. And if you can do that alongside judging the first meeting well and making sure that you book a time and date for the next meeting, it's going to help you get the engagement you want with prospects and not look too pushy. So I hope these 3 tips have helped you identify what you need to do from a sales perspective to be able to make sure that you engage and get the results you want with your prospects. Hopefully these aren't going to make you look pushy, but are going to show your prospect that you care about them and just want to work with them and help them solve their problem or want. But remember, build that initial rapport, build that engagement with them that makes the prospect want to talk to you, that makes them want to continue the conversation. And if you do that, you're going to be well on your way to getting great sales results. My name's James White, I'm the UK's leading prospect conversion expert. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it's helped you and been useful. If you like the channel, I'd love you to subscribe to the channel, click on the button below, or if you can share it with your friends and colleagues, I'd love to provide some help to them and ensure they get the sales results they want. Thanks for watching again, and I look forward to sharing more videos with you next week.